I've pioneered, kind of started a brand new show, the first ever live interactive webcast series from the Knitting Factory in 1989, when most people didn't even know what the internet was or had email. And I did a interactive live webcast that consisted of an hour-long programming featuring 7 different artists, different mediums also. So you can have a live band, a comedian, a magician, poet, you name it. It was never boring. And I had a live audience. I had a webmaster. His name is Sane. And Sane's job as a webmaster was to monitor all the live chat that was coming in, which was projected up to the wall. So the live audience could read what the cyber audience was saying and how they were interacting. And often I engaged both audiences in trivias and would give away prizes.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Adeptus On-Air. I am again your host, Mike Hoffman, and today I am joined by Adriana Kaegi. Adriana, how you doing today?
I'm doing extremely well, thank you. How
Good.
are
Well,
you?
I appreciate you starting your day with us today. A little bio: a multimedia entrepreneur, producer, digital pioneer, likes to intersect music with fashion and technology, founder and executive producer of ADDY.media and styleculture.tv, focuses on short film video content, global syndication strategies for fashion and lifestyle industries. She was the co-founder of the 1980s pop funk group Kid Creole and the Coconuts, where she served as Mama Coconut. Has performed in some pretty cool places, such as Carnegie Hall, also appeared on some pretty cool shows, such as SNL, and collaborated with some really cool people, such as U2. So it's been a pretty fun ride, it sounds like.
Amazing life. I've been blessed.
Good. So let's kind of talk about it, because I always like to kind of start at the beginning, kind of work ourselves up to where we are now. So what was the goal, growing up? Like, where did you see your career going? Like, what were your passions?
Ever since I was a kid, I loved events. I couldn't wait for the next big event that came to town, whether it was a fair or a Christmas holiday market, whatever it was. I loved events, and I'm in the events business. When I was about 12 years old, I started writing like a journalist about the death of Robert Kennedy, and that was my interest in journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what I'm doing today. I never studied journalism, but I am in media, and I've pioneered, kind of started a brand new show, the first ever live interactive webcast series from the Knitting Factory in 1989, when most people didn't even know what the internet was or had email.
Yeah, I was fascinated by that. But so to do something like that, that is almost the definition of being a pioneer. You're obviously, I remember back in the day hearing about the internet, and I can still vividly remember the first time I connected to the internet and what a process that was, and like, oh, this is never going to last.
It was such a high. It was so amazing.
It was so difficult.
Endless.
You had that noisy phone ringing in the background, that connecting, awful screeching sound, and you got on, and it was so slow. And like, what are we doing here? But for you not only to embrace that, but then to do like the first live stream, kind of walk us through that process.
Well, I was a performer, so I know how to put on a show, and I knew a lot of very good artists living in downtown Manhattan. In those days, you could still afford that as an artist.
Sure. Absolutely.
So when I came back from living in Paris for 2 years, my friend Vivian Goldman, who's a famous writer, took me to see 2 friends of hers. They were 2 young lads living together on the Lower East Side, and they showed me the internet. And it blew my mind. And every idea I had, every question I had, they answered with, yes, you can do this. Yes, you can do this. So when it came to live, he said that one of them said, well, you need a T1 line, which is a fiber optic line. And there's only one place in all of Manhattan that has that. And that was the Knitting Factory. So I contacted the owner of the Knitting Factory and booked myself once a month always the last Thursday of every month. And I did a interactive live webcast that consisted of an hour-long programming featuring 7 different artists, different mediums also. So you can have a live band, a comedian, a magician, poet, you name it. It was never boring. And I had a live audience. Now, it was in a very small room, in a very small stage. It was super cozy. Half the audience that was there live didn't know what was happening because they didn't know what the internet was.
Sure.
I had a webmaster. His name is Sane. I hope he's listening. Please contact me if you are. And Sane's job as a webmaster was to monitor all the live chat that was coming in, which was projected onto the wall, so the live audience could read what the cyber audience was saying and how they were interacting. And often I engaged both audiences in trivias and would give away prizes. So it was really fun. I wish I could do it again on a big scale today, but there's just so much content being produced, and you know, you would have
the challenge today.
Really famous people for it to catch on. And anyway, so maybe sometimes it's to let the past be the past and just move on to bigger, better things that are in the future.
Yeah.
But
so you said you were an entertainer. I mean, obviously we've seen different things. Obviously at that, but obviously one of your bigger things was your band, the Kid Creole and the Coconuts. So kind of give us a little rundown of that.
About the band, what it was like?
Yeah.
Well, it all happened very organically, very naturally. When I moved to New York, I moved into the Chelsea Hotel, and I would go out and make friends. And one of these friends I've made was from Dr. Bizarre's original Savannah band, and it so happened that their song was being played on the radio constantly, was Cherchez la Femme, and I loved that whole new sound. And I'm like, who are these people? They're geniuses. This is brilliant to come up with a sound like that. Nobody else has come up with. It wasn't even close to anything anybody else was doing at that time in 1976. They won or they were nominated for Grammy. Anyway, so going out to Studio 54, I met them, and one thing led to another. And August Darnell, who is the brother of Stoney Browder, who is the leader of Dr. Bizarre's original Savannah band, was not very happy. Neither was Cody Mundi, who was also in that band. And they took me out to my 21st birthday for a drink in a jazz club, and there we just came up with the concept, because I just said, well, if you're not happy, just leave. And August said, hey, yes, you're right, I always wanted to start my own band and be my own boss, and I like to think I helped encourage that a little bit. And so together we came up with the 3-ring circus idea of Kid Creole and the Coconuts, and my input was the Coconuts. His original name was Kid Creole and the Cold Cuts.
A little different.
But I liked the Coconuts better. I thought it would sound cheesier.
I think it's a little catchier for sure.
For sure.
So did you tour, or did you stay pretty local?
Excuse me?
Did you tour, or was it pretty local?
We toured all over the world for 15 years nonstop. We've performed for President and Kings and stadiums and you name it.
So what were some of the highlights? I mean, obviously that sounds like a pretty amazing. Talk about some of the people you performed for.
Okay, so 2 highlights. One was performing at Carnegie Hall with Lena Horne, Cab Calloway, and the Nicholas Brothers, like Americana royalty. Mm-hmm. And the other one was another royalty, and that was Lady Di, who invited us to perform for her Dr. Bernardo's benefit. And there's a lovely story because she asked to meet us. And there was all these formalities. We couldn't have a drink in our hand when we were talking to her, etc. And when I got to speak to her, she was amazingly beautiful, much taller than I had envisioned, and very kind and humorous. Yeah. And she said to me, can you please go back on stage? I really don't want to go home. Now we know why she didn't want to go home. She had too much fun there and not so much at home at that time.
Yeah.
Anyway, we couldn't because the stage had already been dismantled. But I did invite her to come see our show at the Lyceum the following night with Charlie. And she said, oh, you just want to meet Charlie, meaning King Charles now.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so we had a little moment of fun banter there.
That's quite the memory. Not too many
Yeah, I
people
mean,
can say
there's so
they had
many
interaction
memories,
with her.
so many highlights, but those are two highlights that come to my mind right now that I wanted to share. And
That's pretty
Saturday
amazing.
Night Live, of course, we did the movie Against All Odds. If you've ever seen that movie,
I
we
have.
have a great.
Long time ago, but yes.
Okay, we have our hit song. We perform our hit song on there. My
So you're
Male
actually not,
Curiosity.
it's
I
not just
couldn't
your
remember
music.
the name. My Male Curiosity.
So it wasn't just your music. Were you actually in the movie, actually playing? Like, were you seen in the movie?
I'm in the movie. The coconuts are very much in that movie. Yeah, with our hairy armpits and all.
Oh my goodness. Okay, thanks for that visual. I appreciate that.
Well, you have to look at it again just for
Now
that.
I'm gonna have to go check it out for sure. Okay, so all right, so that's in the '80s and so forth, and then obviously as your career evolves, and what I love about your career is you obviously are pivoting as things are changing and so forth. So talk about the two. Talk about ADDY.media and StyleCulture.tv.
Well, what I do now today is I help brands and PR firms and event producers turn events and stories into editorial video content that gets produced, distributed, and published by media platforms, generating credibility, visibility, and reach, global reach.
So give me some examples of some of the companies that you work with, like specifically, what are some of the things they're working on?
Okay, so we do a lot of galas, a lot of awards, fundraisers, a lot of red carpet interviews. We also cover fashion, product launches, and we have our own magazine, a video magazine called StyleCulture.tv. And you can see most of our content on there or on MSN. That has 800 million page views. And that is also then reflected on yahoo.com. So my content gets, millions and millions of views, which is wonderful for
Well, that's the
anybody
objective, right?
who's promoting anything.
No, so what's the right kind of what? If I said to you, what's the ideal client for you? Like, what kind of business or client can you help the most? What would you say to me?
I have anything from like a venture capitalist CEO who is on Wall Street, and we film his interview outside of Wall Street right as he comes out, where he's done other interviews and presentations, etc. And we help promote that new venture, which is always very interesting because it's always very, very AI driven or digitally driven content, which I like because I love always to find out what's next and what's new.
Yeah.
So we do some business, also smaller businesses who need to promote their services, especially if they're online, because we are global. And then a lot of event client, like I said before, and a lot of pop-ups, product launches, things like that.
So you mentioned AI, and I always like to bring this up in these discussions. How has AI influenced what you do, both positively and maybe in some ways negatively?
Okay, well, video magazine, StyleCulture.tv actually says it's a video magazine by humans for humans, and we will stay true to that. I think it's important we keep some of that, and I have no need for AI in my videos. I'm very happy to produce them, and my team is very happy to produce them the way we've been doing them. And the only way we've sped things up a little bit is now we do shoot some things together with a real camera with the iPhone. But we will not integrate AI into our editorial videos ever. I do like AI. It serves a purpose. I am a dyslexic thinker, so I have tremendous issue with spelling. I speak 5 languages, but I honestly cannot spell any of them correctly because of my dyslexia. And I'm not the only one. There's millions of people, billions of people on this planet who have that superpower, because it is a superpower, or some people look at it as a disability. So now that we have AI, it automatically spell checks everything that I write, which is beautiful. So all my SEO metadata is being done by AI. Of course, I read through it and I put my voice to it, but I make sure that it is formatted and written correctly. And so for that, AI is a huge benefit and improvement in my workflow.
How do you think over the next 5-10 years? I mean, I admire your intention to, stay true to the human element of it. But obviously, in any industry, you have, for lack of a better word, competitors, or maybe not necessarily competitors, but people you're working against who are using these new technologies in a way that they feel gives them an advantage. So what is the business model to kind of make sure that you don't get overtaken?
Well, I'm already getting buried because of AI videos from my aggregator. The last time I had a conversation, I'm with the biggest video aggregator in the world, and have been with them for a decade since they started. The kind of ad revenue share that I used to get on a monthly basis is down by 80%.
Wow.
Because the market is just saturated with videos, whereas before it was not. And it is now extremely saturated by AI video.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I just received an email from them. It was a mass email that went out to all their providers, saying something about rules and regulations for AI videos. I read something similar about music being generated with AI from the organization Gemma in Germany, which is like BMI or ASCAP here. And they are making laws about that as well. So I think there's room for both human-made, AI-made, and a mixture. I think it will all co-inhabit, and it will be fine one day. It's all regulated, but it definitely needs to be regulated.
Yes.
And back to your question about what's the revenue model. So I had to switch my model because the revenues were shrinking. The work was still, the expenses still remain, right? So it's like, okay, do I want to stay in business? So now that I absolutely love what I do, I love my team. We're like a family. And it's really not always just about the money. It's about doing something you love, right?
Agreed.
I've always been lucky enough in my life to do what I love. And so I switched my business model into paid media opportunities. So there are companies out there that will never get press coverage, but they do have a good story to tell.
Yeah.
And I can tell that story and help them make a really engaging editorial video and publish it that gives them the credibility and visibility that they are looking for. If you want to know what the rates are and more information about my various video packages, you can just go to my website, ADDY.media. That's A, D as in David, D as in David, Y like Yolanda, .media, no .com, .media.
Yeah. So when you talk about that revenue model, and it's interesting, obviously your revenues were dropping, but obviously you made a great point. Your expenses stay there and so forth. AI, on what we're seeing across a lot of business sectors, is AI is replacing labor. And as such, it's replacing it cheaper, which allows someone who even necessarily has declining revenue, perhaps, to still stay afloat because their expenses are also declining because computers are taking over the human element. But what I admire about what you're saying is you want to maintain that human element.
I do, absolutely.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be able to report what's happening in the streets.
Yeah.
And AI isn't going to do that the way
100%.
a human will, because as of right now, they don't quite have a heart and a brain. If I
Scary.
only
Give it 5 years. Who knows? Yeah. So how do you think with all of this over the next 5-10 years your industry will evolve?
That is a question to be seen. Again, has a lot to do with regulations. I like to think there's always room for what we do, even what you do, where two humans are having a conversation that
Correct.
AI is probably recording and learning from.
But you're assuming
Whether
I'm human.
or not, believe it, it's happening.
Yeah. No, it's definitely something that I put a lot of thought to, and I know a lot of just other industry leaders put a lot of thought to. Is you want to stay ahead of it, but you don't know we've never had anything really to this extent before. I mean, one could argue when the internet.
I have one good example. NFT. Everybody went into NFT, the next new thing. NFT, right? I covered every NFT event to Big Basel and during Art Basel. It was so exciting. Loved every minute of it. Went out and bought Bitcoins and the whole 9 yards, right? And now, look what happened. Nobody talks about NFTs anymore. Same, the beta recorder, if you remember that, before the cassettes, the big tapes. They came out, they left. So not every progress that catches human interest will actually remain.
Agreed.
I'm not saying that AI will not remain. That we will see, depending on whether or not it will be a threat to humanity or not, and whether it can be shut off or not. That remains to be seen. I know for sure, like Elon Musk and many other people are predicting that in 10 years from now that we don't need to work anymore, that we'll just get money to do whatever we want to do.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
But I still want to do what I do. That's what I'm saying. It is not going to change what I like to do.
The thing is, some people think of work as work. Some people think of work, hopefully you get a job that you love. So you don't think of it as work. You think of it, I'm excited that I get to do something that I really enjoy today. So to your point that Elon Musk made about not needing to work in 10 years, many people will still want to work because for them, it's enjoyable.
What else are you going to do?
Right. Well, if you hate work, you can find something you like doing better if you don't need the money.
Exactly, but you always need something to do, otherwise you go crazy. You can't just sit on your couch and watch TV because you'll die very soon without moving and exercising.
You have to find something to keep forgetting even your body. You need something to keep your mind moving and thinking,
that as well,
and so forth. And that's always the challenge. You hear all these stories all the time of people retire, worked hard their whole lives, retire, and then 4 months later they're dead. They survived all the 40 stressful years, but they couldn't survive the 4 months of no stress and less human interaction and less, thought-provoking discussions and things like that.
Look what happened during COVID, the isolation. Look how did that affect mental stage of many Americans or many global citizens? It was just really horrendous, especially for teenagers who need to have community. And they were stuck at home with their parents. That's like a punishment. It's horrible.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. And I actually had teenagers during COVID. So okay. I totally understand. I totally understand where you're coming from. Yeah, it was a challenge. They were working out. They were making set Zoom calls with their friends. And they were obviously doing FaceTime, but they were actually setting up group chats just so they were all kind of not just one person talking to one person. So they were doing like virtual hangouts. Where then then they'd even get together where they couldn't be within 20 feet of each other. We had one situation. We had 4 girls come over. It was a nice sunny day, and they all sat in my backyard, 30 feet away from each other. But at least they were together. They were talking to each other, but they were nowhere. They weren't even at an arm's length of each other.
Sure. Well, and another thing that's happening today, which I find very interesting, is there are a lot of meetups and gatherings and clubs even, or events, where you have to leave your phone. And it's not because they don't want you to capture what's in there. They want you to actually talk to people and not be on the phone. So, and people are going to them. They're loving them because it forces them to engage with other human beings instead of looking at their phone every 5 minutes and taking selfies of themselves, which nobody looks at because who cares?
Right. No. But it's interesting you say that because it almost goes both ways. You have some places that don't want the cell phones in because they want the human interaction. And nowadays where it's so different, where in the past, people want you to record things now because they want the publicity and they want you to post that TikTok or that thing on Instagram to give wherever they are notoriety. I mean, obviously taking away
those
a Broadway
numbers,
theater, things like that. They want the publicity.
Absolutely. I mean, the numbers on social media, I am never looking at them because a lot of them are fake and bought.
Yes.
When you look at somebody's social media, you have to really look at their engagement. If they have no engagement, they don't have real followers. Doesn't matter
Agreed.
if they have, 2 million followers in that.
Right.
Just a fact.
You got to look at the numbers behind the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. Numbers don't lie.
No, right. Well, numbers do, right. The total viewers, that could lie because you're right. A lot of them are fake. A lot of them are the same person with 10 different accounts, and so forth. And I think a lot of those people do that themselves.
Yeah.
To grow. And there's even ways I know you could pay to get followers. It doesn't mean there's going to be engagement. Doesn't need it's going to give you any brand benefit or anything. But, it's just for the lack of a better word, the self-esteem that, oh my God, I hit a certain number, which is unfortunately important to a lot of people.
I tell you what, everybody wants to go viral, right? If anybody tells you they can make you go viral, they're totally lying. There's no such thing unless you're buying it. You can buy advertisement of the wazoo. That's what they do during the, political campaigns.
Yeah.
Us human people, us normal people don't have that kind of money. We don't get donations.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's just it. Correct. 100% correct. So, all right. So let's, do you miss the music days? I mean, if you could do it again, would you want to tour? I mean, I know you're a different part of your life, but obviously that was such an important part for, I think you said 15 years. Do you ever wake up and say, wow, I'd love to be traveling the world again doing that?
Any artist who's ever toured for a long period of time will tell you it is very, very hard living.
Yeah.
You think it's fun because you get to travel around the world. You get to see some of it, but you're constantly on the move. And in the beginning, it's really fun and it's new. And then it becomes like you don't even care what town you're in. It's just about getting your body half asleep onto the bus early in the morning, going back to sleep on the bus. Then when you get to the destination, you get out, you do the sound check, you eat, you do the show, you go to a hotel, you party because you have the adrenaline flowing, so you can't go to sleep, so you stay up with all the other band members or sometimes fans, whatever, just until you can go to sleep. And next day you repeat it again. And, I did it for 15 years and I started missing my own bed. I started missing my cooking. It's simple things like that. Home, when you're always on the go, that is a different. It's not very humane. It's very nomadic. It sounds very exciting, and I still like being a nomad. I would love to be a digital nomad as I get older, and I don't want to be in one place anymore here in New York City. And that is also something that is very much becoming popular now because everybody can work from a computer, so it doesn't matter where you are. You can go live wherever you feel happiest, whether it's by a beach or on top of a mountain.
Yeah, and still be productive, and still provide a lot of benefit, and not have to necessarily change your career. So I totally agree with that.
And pay less rent.
And pay less rent, which is always nice. That's right. Well, listen, so please tell everyone, I know you said before your one website, but how can people find you across social media platforms and online?
Well, on social media, Instagram and YouTube, we have a video magazine by humans for humans called styleculture.tv. Then on Instagram, I have a very personal Instagram, but it is public, and that's my name. At Adriana Kaegi, Kaegi. And ADDY.media also has a social media on Instagram, but it's the website that has most of the information. I'm not really putting a lot of social media emphasis on ADDY.media because it's more important to put that on the video magazine because that's more informative. ADDY.media is more, corporate, more company oriented with services, pushing services.
Well, that's what you got to do, right?
Yeah, we got to make a thing.
Got to make a living. That's what we all got to do. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on. Very interesting story and so forth. And I wish you nothing but luck going forward.
It's been a great pleasure.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Adeptus On-Air. If you like this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. The views and opinions by the podcast speakers and guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Adeptus. This podcast provides general information only and is not intended to constitute advice.